Chadini and I randomly started cooking, and I'm glad I did because it's something that I can't picture myself not doing now.
Hey everyone, I am Hash from Hash Delhi. I have a small home business. I have been running it for over 12 years.
As cliche as it sounds, I find cooking quite therapeutic, and I love having friends and family over and cooking up a whole bunch of dishes for them.
I'd always baked with my mom, but then that was tedious. You know, you mix the butter and the sugar for the longest time and it takes the whole day.
Cooking to me is something that I do with a lot of passion and something that I put a lot of heart and soul into.
If you have a really good cake, everybody's going to be talking about it. It lifts up your mood. For me, if it's a really good dessert, people stop talking. They go, when they taste it, and that's the reaction we want.
I'm really excited to share these dishes with you, and I hope you enjoy making them. This is my homemade.
So I'm very excited to be joining you all for 4 episodes. This is my homemade. Hi everyone, I'm Hash. Welcome to another episode of Homemade. So today we are going to start with the blueberry lemon loaf. You might have this question, is it a cake? Is it a bread loaf? Well, it's actually neither and both. This is something you do not want to serve after a dinner. This is something you would have after brunch. And it's kind of like French toast. It's neither dessert, nor is it breakfast, something like that. And it's the best time of the year to serve this. It's when it's really, really warm weather. So let's get started, shall we? Right, first things first, I've measured out the butter. It's 75 grams. Yeah, break it up a little bit. So, but can you see, while I'm cutting the butter as well, it still holds its shape quite a bit. So this is exactly what we want. Alright, so now we break up the butter and dump in all the sugar. So since I've grinded this very recently, I don't have to sift it. But if you grinded it and you kept it in a box, you need to sift it, because otherwise what happens is you'll get really thick, hard pieces of sugar. This is 200 grams of granulated sugar. You want to get it all into the bowl. Mix it very lightly, because I don't want it like splashing back onto my face. And yeah, so I'm just squashing it down a little bit. So you will realize when you're doing this that this is not a pound cake. I'm not having the same amount of butter as I do sugar, because what's going to happen is we are going to hold back on the liquids, for the simple reason that we will be adding liquids afterwards. So you need to compensate for that. So you need to take out some of the ingredients to make room for the liquids you're going to put in later. So let's get started. rotate the bowl because our hand coordination is a little bit limited. So if you are putting it in a mixer even, you need to understand that the beater hooks will not go all the way around. It never does. So if you want an even dough, you need to move it around. Right, so this is what you'll get eventually, right? You just touch and see whether you get thick sugary granules. You won't get anything, you're fine. And remember that this is basically a loaf. It needs to be sturdy. It's not going to be it's not soft, melt in the mouth. And you're going to have it at brunch. So you want something like with the same texture as a muffin, not a ribbon cake, not a vanilla cake, not a chocolate cake. So it's going to be sturdy and sliceable. So, and this will take in just 2 eggs, and you're going to pour it one at a time, like so. So what happens if we put in both eggs at the same time and start mixing? Okay, so you must be wondering, why aren't we just dumping both eggs at the same time? What happens is you're adding a lot of liquid at the same time. So the possibility of mixing it evenly is less. It will get very watery and the butter will get very curdled. So you want to introduce eggs little by little, and not too little by little. Don't have to get all OCD about it. Just 1 egg at a time should do, and it's just 2 eggs. Can you see while I'm mixing, there is some sort of structure. It's coming together nicely. It's not separating. The liquids aren't separate from the dry stuff. See? It's gooey and it's nice. Time to add in the second and the last egg. Okay, now I am going to get to the hero of this dish. One is actually, there are 2 heroes in this. It's the blueberry and lemon. So now let's talk about blueberries. You don't get fresh blueberries in Sri Lanka, and there are places you can get it from, but it's really, really expensive. And it's not worth the trouble because you're not making dinner, dessert. It's not going to be for a huge event. It's just going to be for a loaf, for your family to enjoy, for your kids to slice and eat. And it's a little bit tiny bit healthy as well, because with blueberries and lemon. What I do is, I get the blueberries, I weigh them out, and overnight I keep it on a strainer for all the liquid to drain out. And after that, I pat it dry with the paper towels. Don't use the paper napkins, because they are too soft. They will break as soon as it gets moist. But with paper towels, they hold the structure, and they do not. You won't be eating tiny pieces of paper. So, and then the lemon. So there are I am using lemon zest as well as lemon juice. Now this lemon, let's talk about this lemon, right? I know nobody wants to talk about a lemon, but this guy is very hard. It's very firm. Yeah, and you can't juice this. It's not like the key limes, you're not making pulse and ball. You can't squeeze this with your hand. So zest, let's talk about the zest first. You always have to get the zest first before you cut it, because you need to be able to hold the lemon in your hand properly. So I have a lemon zester here. Yeah. So the first things first, you are using something that could very well have pesticides on it. So wash it, scrub it really, really well, because you are getting the outermost skin of the lemon, right? And this is how you use a lemon zester. Can you see how it's not taking any of the pith? This is all we want, the nice yellow bits. If you take a look at my zest, I cover it up so that the flavor doesn't go off. It's a little bit yellow and a little bit green. That's because I take a mix of fruits. There's nothing wrong with local lemons. You do not need to get, very sexy, imported lemons. Local lemons are fine. You can use one of these graters that you get at basically every house. You grate your cheese with it, So just take this and do the topmost skin. Yeah, go all around, but stop at the skin. Do not put this white bit, it's very bitter. Not the lemon sourness, it's bitter. So you don't want to get any of the white bits. Now how to juice this lemon? Yeah. So I watched this on an Oprah show long years ago about this gadget. This little gadget is very handy. It's a lemon reamer. You don't get it in a lot of places because a lot of people don't ask for it. But I honestly would not know what I do without this gadget. This guy is really strong today. There is no give. So if I wasn't in front of a camera, I would be bashing this with a rolling pin. It's me against the lemon, right? So then you take this gorgeous lemon and cut it right smack like this, right? And you juice the lemon like so. Trust me, there is no way you will get this much juice if you were doing it by hand. There is absolutely no way, because if you look at this lemon, the skin is really thick. I don't know whether it's because they are local lemons or what, but it is what it is. Turn your oven on to 175, 180 and let it heat for about 6-7 minutes. It doesn't really matter, but by the time you get there, the oven has to be properly hot. So do that. And I'm also going to get my pan ready. So you must have read in a lot of recipes to grease and flour your pan. What does that mean? Grease and flour. So the thing is now you can do this with butter. So but butter is slippery, it does not stick to the pan. So you will get a lot of gaps where the butter has just come off. So you need to use butter or margarine and apply it properly. Use your fingers, because with your fingers what you missed. So apply it all over, right? And make sure there are no gaps, no dry looking spots. Take some flour. It's that simple really. Yeah, and make sure all of the butter is covered in flour. And it's so simple, you don't need to line your pan or anything. I get my kids to do this because, seriously, it's not that difficult and they love to be helpful. And you brush off the flour. Can you see? It's completely white, you don't get any marks. Now see, if I missed a spot, it would look like this. That very black spot would be where the cake would not stick. Right. So now we mix in the lemon juice. Okay, time to add in the lemon juice, guys. And you don't want to over mix at this point, because what does lemon do? Lemon juice curdles things. First things first, you start with the flour. You start with the flour, you end with the flour. That's how it works. So add in a little bit of flour. Give it a whirl. Can you see I'm not even using the mixer completely at this point. I don't want to over mix. Add a little bit of milk. Add in a lot more flour. And the last bit of flour. See how I started with the flour and ended with the flour? That's what you want to do. I need my trusty spatula to get all the splatter down because there's a little bit of flour that did not get mixed in. So the blueberries are heavier than the dough. So what does that mean? You did basic science, so it falls straight to the bottom, right? So, but not with the help of a little bit of flour. So what you do is you take a bowl with a little bit of flour, dump all the blueberries in, the dried blueberries please, the ones you've patted dry or something. Put a little bit more flour. Just coat the blueberries in the flour. And the other thing I'm going to add in is my absolutely gorgeous zest. And put in the blueberries. The lemon zest and the blueberries go last, guys, because if you put the lemon zest early, what happens is it gets stuck to these. They get entangled around these, so you won't get a lot of them inside the loaf. They will be on your beater hooks. So now what we're going to do is very gently fold in the blueberries. Blueberries and the lemon zest are getting beautifully folded in. You don't want to mix at this point because you don't want crushed blueberries. And see how fast it all came together, and dump it all in. Try not to get any on the side of the pan, right? If you want, you can flatten it. If you want like a nice puffy one, you can just leave it be. No unnecessary steps in baking because why? Yeah. So this goes in the oven for 1 hour. Check in 1 hour. Put a skewer in. If it comes out with a lot of crumbs, then put it back in the oven for about another 7-8 minutes. And then I'll tell you what to do next. Okay, moment of truth, you guys. Now this might crumble a little bit. That's to be expected. That's what we want because you're slicing it while it's still really hot. So if you let it cool down completely, it has more structure, but who wants that? We want to see smoke coming out, don't we? Alright, let's get it going. Can you see it's beginning to crumble? Am I gonna show you guys the shot? No. Let's slice a few more. So you can see how the blueberries have really spread out and it's moist. And look at this. Tell me that's not like glorious. And now I'm going to taste. I'm really nervous about this. Let's see. Can you guys see how soft it is? Look at that wiggle. So nice and moist. So good. And wait, one more. And that's it. Your lemon loaf is done and we are all ready for brunch.
Hi and welcome to another episode of Homemade. I'm Chadini from Percy and B. Today I'm going to be making coconut shrimp, which is a really easy dish to make and it's perfect as an appetizer or even to serve with some drinks or even as an afternoon snack. So what we're going to do first is we're going to crack an egg into a bowl. Then we're going to open our beer. and we add 1/4 cup of beer into the egg. You can save this for later because it's great with the coconut shrimp. And then you whisk this together. You whisk it and then you leave it aside. And now we move on to assembling the prawns. So we take a prawn and then we dip it in the flour. Then we dip it in the beer and egg batter. Then we roll it onto the coconut flakes. And then we place them in a tray lined with a baking sheet. So coconut flakes are used instead of normal breadcrumbs because I think it adds a nice crunch to it. And the beer in the egg also gives it some added flavor. And now we're going to heat up some oil in pan because we need to deep fry the prawns. So when it's heated up, we add the prawns one by one, deep fry it. Be careful not to get the coconut flakes off the prawns. You can line a tray up with some tissue so when you put the prawns that all the oil gets soaked up and it's not too oily. You gotta fry it till it's a bit of a light brown golden color. So I think it looks like a nice light brown. You can take them out now. Try to grab it by the tail so that you don't get the coconut flakes. You should try to fry only a few at a time so that everything stays intact. Now we've taken out all the prawns and we should keep it for a minute or two so the oil gets soaked into the tissues so that it's a little bit less oily. So like I said, it's a really easy, quick appetizer that you could fix in a couple of minutes. If you want to save time with putting it in, instead of putting it in the fridge for 30 minutes, you can put it in the freezer for about 10-15 minutes to save a bit of time. So now the prawns are done and I'm just going to plate it up. You can plate it up in a bowl or well, you can be a bit extra and use a coconut shell like I did. And you can serve it up with some mayo or some tartar sauce or even some sweet chili sauce. Anything really works with it. So you can serve this prawns with either mayo or sweet chili sauce or even tartar sauce. It kind of works with any sauce, to be honest. Let's give it a bit of a taste. It's a bit hot. Good. That was really nice and crunchy and the beer batter gives it a nice flavor as well, and when you add that with the mayo. So I hope you try this dish at home. This is my homemade and I hope you enjoyed this episode.